Almost all young people at some point will do something that could be considered a criminal offense. For instance, throwing a CD at a teacher is considered assault with a weapon, even if it doesn't hit her. Should all such offenses wind up in a trial? The Youth Criminal Justice Act permits the diversion of minor crimes out of the court system. One such alternative is PACT: participation, acknowledgement, commitment, transformation. It's a privately funded program modeled on Native healing circles. Studio 2 observed a PACT session with a young offender and his family, their identities concealed to protect their privacy.
In the schools today, we have zero tolerance. Things that, as kids, we remember being resolved in the schoolyard just by speaking to the teacher, now wind up in the criminal court.
The major problem with our criminal justice system is it's based on punishment. And all of the statistics indicate that punishment simply doesn't work.
We have handed our kids over to the court system. And in Canada, we have become one of the highest rates of incarcerating our youth. For youth crime, they were finding that kids who spend time in jail come out better criminals. They've learned a lot in jail, things that they didn't know. And the other thing we talk about justice is to prevent. We want to prevent crimes from happening. We want to do that by creating the punishments that will scare people into being law-abiding. Well, does that work? It works with law-abiding people, but not with criminals, right?
I was a Crown attorney for 5 years in the Scarborough Youth Court. It was a very busy jurisdiction, and my job was to manage the youth court there. One of the things that happens in any justice system are delays. I mean, it's cases, it varies from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, but typically take, and we're taking in Scarborough, 9 to 12 months before the trial was held. We'd find that when the trial came around a year down the road, nobody was interested in proceeding on this matter. The family had resolved the issue, and it really became apparent that we could deal with a good number of cases by way of mediation.
PACT is a program that offers youth who've been charged with criminal offenses an opportunity to meet with the victims who they have offended in their crimes, and to come to some understanding about what happened, how it happened, and what they're willing to do to restore to those victims some means that will be satisfactory for both the victim, for the court, and for the offender, that will resolve this criminal charge.
I went to observe the mediation conferences and realized that it's a very powerful approach to a problem that comes into the youth court system.
So under the traditional justice system that's operating right now, there are 3 questions that are asked in the system. And the first question is, who committed the crime? What law has been broken? And what punishment should be given that is suitable for this offense? That's in our traditional system. The restorative system asks 3 other questions. It asks, what harm was done by this offense? What can be done to repair the harm? Where is the opportunity for restitution? And who is responsible for that repair? So you're going to notice when you get a chance to see the conference that we sit in a circle. There's a reason for sitting in a circle. It's so different from court, right? There's no judge at the top of the dais. There's not a jury and secretaries. We're all sitting in a circle.
Okay. Let me read you something from the police report and then tell me whether it's how accurate you think it is, okay?
Okay.
The accused and his mother were going out to return some videos to the store. The accused, that's you, had put his shoes on, and his mother told him to take them off and walk through the living room to get the videos. The accused started talking under his breath, and words were exchanged between the accused and the victim, that's your stepfather. The accused got very angry and ran to the kitchen, took out a meat-cutting knife. The accused then walked very quickly towards the victim with the knife extended in his right hand and pointed towards the victim. Did you not do that?
No. The day that it happened, me and my mom were getting ready to go to my grandma's house and bring her movies, and I put my shoes on before I went to get the movies when my mom told me not to. My mom got mad and said she wasn't going, so I brought them back to the table. And then after that, my mom started saying stuff I don't remember, and I got mad. I stormed out of the house and slammed the door. And then when I came in the house, Kenneth told me that he was gonna call the police. So I went in the kitchen and grabbed a knife.
And he took up the knife and he was huffing and puffing. And he went towards my husband, and he knew that my husband was calling the cops. But that's why he took up the knife, because he didn't want him to call the cops to cut the cord. I know he wouldn't hurt my husband.
I didn't call the police, to be honest to you, because he picked up the knife coming at me. I didn't call the police for that. For his own safety. Because they told us, whenever I pick up anything, don't face him, just call the police, okay? So that's what I do.
So we have kids who have parents who are working 2 and 3 jobs, and kids who have no supervision, and kids who have no idea about what is acceptable or not acceptable. And this is their first encounter when they get charged with a criminal offense. PACT offers an alternative for kids who have been identified as really not being serious or dangerous offenders, to find a way of resolving the charge without having to go through the system. And that just stops the system from being overloaded.
We diverted about 600 cases. We had about 1,500 cases in total. So about 40% of our cases were diverted, and 300 or 20% PACT was doing by way of mediation.
Stats Canada has a statistic in place which essentially says if a kid is charged and sentenced under the new Youth Justice Act, 43% of these kids will be charged again within 1 year of the sentencing. You take a cross-section of those kids, you put them through a PACT-style restorative justice program, you find that there, in fact, is a reduction from 43 to about 4 or 5%, which is a 90% reduction.
Victims have a greater voice as opposed to a courtroom. They had a chance to discuss what happened to them and really speak about how it affected them emotionally and what the repercussions were.
What really, really hurt me is to see him being taken away.
That's not what you wanted to happen.
No. And to see him suffering.
Who do you think has been affected by what happened about that incident that day?
All of us.
All of you?
PACT Resolution Agreement. I acknowledge that I participated in a resolution conference on the 11th day of September 2004, at which time I acknowledge responsibility for the offenses of assault with a weapon and mischief under $5,000. I agreed at the resolution conference that I will attend and complete the anger management program as arranged by my probation officer, to try to get a job to help pay for the damage to the house. Next is write sincere letters of apology to my mother and stepfather for the trouble I have caused. I understand that if I do not comply with this resolution agreement, or if I fail to complete this agreement in its entirety, that the Crown may proceed with the charges at hand, and I may be required to go back to court for the offenses.
This is yours. You promised to do all these things.
I'll put it on my door.
You will? Cover the hole.
If they meet the terms of their agreement, the charges are dropped and they have no criminal record. For these kids, it's an enormous opportunity, because you know what happens to a young person once they get a criminal charge and conviction and they have a criminal record. That can impact them for the rest of their lives, where they go to school, what jobs they'll have, who they'll associate with. So these are huge opportunities.
It leaves much more time for Crown attorneys to concentrate and allocate the court resources and court time to dealing with more serious cases.
The conference part of PACT is only the beginning. After the conference, there's counseling, there's mentoring, there's guidance. Keep the kids connected and keep them feeling that they are contributing, and that's what works.
Our 2005 budget for PACT in the 3 courts in Toronto will be approximately $250,000. We could affect the lives of 1,000 kids, save the government untold millions of dollars, impact victims in a positive way, have a huge impact on the community and the young offenders' lives. and there is not one plug nickel of government money.
PACT is necessary because we cannot continue to hand over our youth to institutions and expect the institutions to manage. We have to take some responsibility ourselves.